Good morning. Peace be with you. Dear friends, we are celebrating Wednesday of the first week of Lent. For our reflection, we have this beautiful gospel passage from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 20, verses 17 to 28. In this gospel passage, we find, first of all, Jesus informing his disciples that he is going to Jerusalem. Now, just imagine going to Jerusalem. Why? Of course, Jesus had been in Galilee, in many other places, but then now he precisely goes to Jerusalem. This was with a particular intention, with a particular goal in his mind. And then he says, the Son of Man will be handed over to the Pharisees and scribes. He will suffer, he will be killed, and on the third day he will rise again. Now we know that Jerusalem was the center of everything for the Jewish people. People from all over the world used to come to Jerusalem because it was a great city with so many millions. And there it was the center of commerce, center of religion, and then center of politics. We could find all sorts of people in Jerusalem. Why Jesus was going to Jerusalem? Not to incite a political revolution. He was going to Jerusalem just for accomplishing the Father's will. And that's why his words to the disciples that he would be persecuted, he will be killed, and on the third day he will rise again. That is a tremendous prediction made by Jesus. Now, when we look at the world religious leaders, none of them predicted their own death and resurrection. None of them. It's only Jesus who predicts his death and resurrection. That itself shows that Jesus knew exactly what was going to happen to his life, and he would rise again to proclaim that peace of the Father. Now, here we find the mother of James and John pleading with Jesus with a special request. And what was that request? To provide seats, the privileged seats for John and James, her sons. Now, Jesus most probably thought, they do not know what they are asking. And therefore, Jesus challenges them. Can you drink the cup that I am to drink? Of course, both of them say, yes, we will drink. And most probably, when Jesus had predicted that he would go to Jerusalem, these two disciples and their mother had an understanding that Jesus is in some way going to establish a special kingdom, and they would have some kind of privileged positions in his kingdom. Now, on the other hand, we find the 10 disciples were dissatisfied, disappointed, and they were most probably grumbling with one another. They were saddened at what had happened. Why? James and John were seeking the first places in God's kingdom. Dear friends, a simple reference to all of us here. Now, when we think about religion, faith experience, do we sometimes expect to be first in God's kingdom? I have heard some people saying that they would like to be on the right side or left side of the Son of God or Blessed Mother or Saint Anthony or Saint Joseph. Well, what about others? Well, Christianity is not that. We are seeking always the first places. Christianity is a faith experience of service. And that's why at the end of this gospel passage, Jesus very clearly, precisely tells to his disciples, in the world, people are looking for positions. In the world, people look for places of honor, but it shall not be among you. Because the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. Easily said. Dear friends, it is going to be difficult to me and to all of you. In our lives, in order that we may really bear that witness to Christ, first of all, we must be servants, not look for positions, not look for power. Ultimately, power comes on its own when we serve. And that's why Jesus gave that beautiful example at the Last Supper, washing the feet of his own disciples. And he gave us the greatest commandment: love one another as I have loved you. Therefore, dear friends, as we are marching towards the passion and death and resurrection of the Lord, the celebration of the Paschal mysteries, let us keep this gospel passage today in our mind so that it can shed some light on us, on our motivations. As Jesus again reminds us, the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. God bless you.